sorry, that's for a Democrat show.
No matter what the technical difficulty is, this man is a professional. He goes all the way.
What you represent to them is freedom.
Was an extremely great conservative commentator. We're tearing it up on Wednesday night. This is awesome. This will allow me to retort.
Well, this is Jersey Joe for the Reaver of Common Sense show. 8 p.m. on shrmedia.com.
This show contains language that some viewers may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised. And now on to the show.
And welcome to the Reaver of Common Sense with your host, Jersey Joe. Jersey Joe is trying to make sense out of the senseless. The Jersey Takeover is here. We have expanded to 2 hours every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Remember to join the live chat. Go to shrmedia.com. Just click on the chat room button. Join the conversation. If you want to watch broadcast, go to Reaver.one. Click on the live stream. And as my daughter always says, don't forget to tell them to click the subscribe button, Dad, and leave a comment. God, my daughter's 12, and she's already nagging. That's bad. She's already nagging at the age of 12. If you want to support the show and support SHR Media, go to Reaver.one and click on the Reaver store. Pick yourself up a t-shirt, coffee mug. So many items to choose from. You can even get a shirt that has Hillary Clinton's yearbook photo on it. Go to Reaver.one, click on the Reaver store. It's on the right-hand side. You'll get the t-shirt when you see it about the Hillary yearbook. So Loretta Lynch is going to release the 911 tapes. Sort of. And why I mean sort of, because they're releasing some of the 911 calls. And we're talking about the terrorist that made the 911 call. And they're going to remove anything he said about ISIS, terrorism, which really makes me laugh. They're censoring a dead man's final declaration. And oh my God. It drives me up a wall. But in an interview with NBC's Chuck Todd, Attorney General Loretta Lynch says that on Monday, the FBI will release edited transcripts of the 911 calls made by the Orlando nightclub shooter to the police during his rampage. What we're not going to do is further proclaim this man's pledge of allegiance to terrorist groups and further his propaganda. We are not going to hear him make his assertion of allegiance to the Islamic State. But by what she just said, she just confirmed that for everybody. So why are you going to... They're removing it because they're trying to remove any connection to it. Just as they've tried to not talk about the terrorist aspect of this and just talk about the gun aspect. That is what they're doing. Lynch references to Islam from Orlando's terrorist 911 call to avoid victimizing. The Washington Post reported last week that the gunman made multiple phone calls while holding hostages. The gunman who opened fire inside a nightclub here said he carried out the attacks because he wanted America to stop bombing his country, according to a witness who survived the rampage. Salon reported, and I hate using those words because Salon doesn't report shit. They make up most of the crap. Everybody who was in the bathroom who survived, who could hear him talking to 911, saying the reason why he's doing this is because he wanted America to stop bombing his country. I didn't know we were bombing the United States. He was a U.S. citizen. That is his country. Listen, if you are not happy with the United States, leave. That's that simple. It's that simple, people. Leave. The FBI are giving an update in Orlando right now. The Washington Post also noted that during his 911 call from the club, the gunman referenced the Boston Marathon bombers and claimed that he carried out the shooting to prevent bombings, echoing a message the young Boston attackers had scrawled in a note before he was taken into custody by police. FBI Director James Comey said at a press conference that the shooter's past comments about Islamist groups were inflammatory and contradictory. It is his words. This is what he did it in. Stop censoring what he said. This is not to victimizing the Muslim culture. The only ones that are going after our whole culture are a select few and our government. Most of Americans understand that it is not all of Muslims that are doing this. And that not all Muslims can speak out, because if they speak out, they then would become the target of the hate. So the only one that's coming up with this bullshit is our government. And they're the ones that want to censor it. And all they keep doing is protecting the terrorist. So you tell me why he would want to protect the terrorist, the terrifying terrorist. Sorry, Jeff Dunham popped in my head. And if you haven't seen Jeff Dunham, you need to. I remember the good old days when snap, crackle, and pop were the sounds I heard from my cereal, not my body. Yeah, tell me about it. It's... Sorry, I'm looking through some stuff. Let's see. Chewbacca mom. Hasbro gives custom action figure to woman who shared video of self laughing and mask. Whatever. Good. Leonardo DiCaprio is getting sued. Oh, couldn't happen to a better man. It's... This world's going nuts, and it's going nuts fast. So I don't know. I know the beginning of the show isn't that razzle-dazzle. I am at a total loss with what's going on in this country. It scares the total crap out of me. We have a government that's going absolutely apeshit. And we're going to discuss in a little bit exactly what I mean by that. There's going to be a vote today at 5:30 about gun control. And no, it's not a good thing. It's not. We'll get to that in a minute. It just has me sidetracked and totally scared shitless. But we have a quote from the president. We see no clear evidence that he was directed externally. It does appear that at the last minute he announced allegiance to ISIL. But there is no evidence so far that he was, in fact, directed by ISIL. And at this stage, there's no direct evidence that he was part of a larger plot. ISIL is another name for ISIS that basically gives credence to their statehood. Now, Obama goes and makes those statements, but he kind of forgets the fact that he stopped the investigations into the mosques, and this mosque in particular was stopped, and it had a lot of questions about this mosque because it seems to be producing a lot of terrorists. And Obama scrubs and stops the investigations and then gets to deny that there's any link. This man has gone to the Middle East several times, so we don't know exactly what went on over there, what he was instructed and told to do, and who he talked to over there. This man has had direct contact with imam, whatever the heck they call the Muslim priest. And I'm not trying to be derogatory towards him. I just can't remember at this point. It's Obama is trying to lie again, trying to misshape the facts, trying to hide the facts so that he can control the narrative and spin it to a gun control. And Loretta Lynch is just as culpable at this misdirecting of evidence to try to hide the fact this man was doing this in the name of terrorism. And I don't understand a president that protects terrorists, whether directly link, indirectly link. I don't give a flying fuck. The moment you start planning to attack the United States is the moment you lose your citizenship, the moment you start committing a crime. But yet, Obama continues to protect these people. He continues to make this about guns and not about terrorism. He continues to talk about how we need to limit the ability of terrorists to get guns and weapons. Jackass. They will get weapons no matter what. They break laws. They will get guns into this country illegally. They will get guns into this country one way or another if that's what they want. They will take box cutters and take planes hostages and fly them into buildings and kill thousands of people. Jackass. They will take pressure cookers and turn them into bombs and set them off in a crowd. There was a poll done this past weekend. Well, it was released this past weekend. I didn't look at the exact dates because the results was stupefying. Hello, Kel. Good morning. Yes, the results were stupefying because 60% of Democrats think that this attack was gun violence and not terrorism. 60% of the Democrats are brain dead. But now let's say we do have a mass shooting again, and it is committed by someone just because they're nuttier than a fucking bag of nuts. They will turn around and say that's terrorism. Convict the white person of the terrorism. They're terrorists. But the terrorists, they want to make excuses for. Does anybody see an issue with that? And I keep looking over. I got the TV up and running. I got C-SPAN on, and I'm waiting for the Senate and all that to get up and running for the un-American vote that will happen today. The vote to try to destroy our way of life. Another little chip. Well, this one won't be a little chip. This will be a big, gigantic crack in our Constitution, whether successful or unsuccessful. And I do believe, honestly, that these politicians should be charged with treason, charged with attack of the Constitution, charged with just going against our constitutional rights. Because Lord knows, anybody else did it, the Republicans did it, the Democrats would be screaming for justice. The only time the Democrats seem to care about the Constitution when they want to run their mouths freely about anything and everything, or when they want to protect someone under civil rights, then they start screaming the Constitution. Otherwise, as it was recently said by Joe Manchin, sorry about that, Senator Manchin said recently that due process is getting in the way. That is what the Democrats think of the Constitution. That it gets in the way of them ruling us. And that's what they want to do. More and more, you see it. I don't know how much more facts you need slapped upside your head before people start waking up. And it's not just the Democrats anymore. We have House Representatives Paul Ryan, who's siding with the Democrats, who's pushing for mass immigration of a group of people from an area that has a high rate of terrorism, and he does not want to slow down the incoming of those people. And I'm sorry that we have to use the word Muslim to describe them, because it's not the Christians in that area that are killing people and beheading people. It's not the Jews that are doing it, or whatever other religions that are in the area. It is only one specific religion that is doing it in the Middle East, and that is the Muslims. So how are we supposed to pinpoint the problem when everybody is afraid of their fucking shadow and afraid to say what the actual problem is? So, Paul Ryan, no, we are not trying to come up with a test when it comes to religion. Yes, we have freedom of religion in this country. But also, to come in this country, you must not be part of a group that pledges against the well-being of the United States. So you're contradicting the laws because some of these people are pledging their allegiance to a religious group, whether twisted or not. They are pledging against the United States through their religion to destroy and attack the United States. So yes, we can have a... Shit, I can't think of the word they keep using. Exactly, Kel. There is something much bigger going on, and several of us have not figured it out. And it scares the piss out of me. There's something bigger going on. I've never seen our government hide terrorism, hide and try to push such a large amount of not just illegal immigrants into our country, but legal immigration of Muslims into this country. We're not talking about bringing in a large amount of Europeans. It's always bringing in a large amount of Muslims. And now we have Republicans that are backing this. We have a Republican Senate leader that is willing to help push the assault rifle ban, which, as I said, there will be a vote today around 5:30 on gun control in the Senate today. And it scares the crap out of me. Something big is going on, and no one could put their exact finger on it, but it seems our government has been infiltrated by this Muslim faction. Shit, I can't think of what they call it, that test. They give it to the military personnel. They'll ask them questions, see how they answer. Oh, God. I had it on the tip of my tongue just a moment ago, and they do it a lot with our generals and so forth. They're asked the question of, if given a order to fire on the American people, would you do so? And it used to be, if you said yes, well, you are not the general for the job. Well, now if you say no, they don't want you in the position. We have Republicans that are now pushing to bring in a larger group of illegal immigrants into our military. As we are pushing American citizens out of the military, Obama is pulling in the illegal immigrants, giving them citizenship right off the bat. And who do you think these people have allegiance to? Obama knows that the Americans that were in the military would disobey an unconstitutional order to attack fellow Americans. And maybe this doesn't happen in our time, but it is a slow turnover where they're bringing in people into our military that are willing to ignore constitutional rules and willing to attack Americans on American soils. We have a government that is trying to set itself up so that it can do as it sees fit. And it scares the crap out of a lot of us. And a lot of us within the community with doing these shows, there's a lot of intelligent people that I've come across that do these shows. These people are friggin' smart as hell. And we're all seeing something is afoot. Something's going on. And none of us have been able to place our fingers. And it's not something that's going to be for the betterment of this world. Because it's not just in the United States this shit's going on. You have this stuff in Canada. You have it in Europe. 3 large countries are all of a sudden pushing for this mass Muslim invasion. They're pushing for the destruction of our countries, and it's our own government officials. Something is afoot And usually when you have stuff like that throughout history, and I'm not advocating violence, I'm pointing out in history, usually when you have incidents like that, it never ends good. It usually ends in war. You're listening to the Reaver of Common Sense right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Radio and ICRN. We will be right back.
Listening to the SHR Media Network.
Now, at Brownells, we know you may have only one shot to harvest that trophy, so we have thousands of accessories and replacement parts to improve your chances. We know how much you love to shoot, so our Gunsmiths articles and videos will help you do more and get more out of your guns. And we also value your hard work and money. That's why only Brownells backs up everything we sell with a 100% unconditional lifetime guarantee. Brownells, the world's largest supplier of firearm accessories and gunsmithing tools.
Breaking news. According to the latest report coming out of SHR Media, a merchandise store to support both the Reaver of Common Sense and SHR Media has just been unleashed to the general public. Be forewarned that this site can be contagious and numerous items can be purchased to support the best news programming. Go to Reaver.one website and click on the store link to check out the merchandise.
Listening to Reaver of Common Sense, hosted by my dad, Jersey Joe. Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the Reaver of Common Sense show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com and highplainsdailynews.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. You didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying cow for the stupid pro.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch the Southside Mutt Show with its hosts, the Jersey Boys, Jersey Joe and Crash, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Radio, where we will be digging up the dirt.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guide. Because truth is not always pleasant.
If you miss a show, don't worry. You can catch the replays two ways, rebootingliberty.com or the reaverofcommonsense.com. While you're there on Reaver of Common Sense, don't forget, drop in your email and keep up to date on everything going on, or click the like button on the Facebook widget. Now on to the Reaver of Common Sense.
listening to the SHR Media Network.
This show contains language that some viewers may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised. And now on to the show.
And welcome back to the Reaver of Common Sense. I am your host, Jersey Joe, and I am making sense out of the senseless. The Jersey Takeover is here. We have expanded to 2 hours every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Remember to join the live chat. Go to shrmedia.com. Just click on the chat room button. Join the conversation. If you want to watch a broadcast, perfect. Go to Reaver.one. That is REAVER.ONE. Click on the live stream. Don't forget to hit subscribe and leave a comment. And if you want to support the show and support SHR Media, go to Reaver.one. That is REAVER.ONE. And click on the Reaver store. Pick yourself up a t-shirt. Now, me and Kel were discussing in the chat room, and she had wrote in that how did Canada end up with a socialist Islamic sympathizer for a prime minister? Yes, the mosque-whipped vote helped, but there was the charisma of Justin Trudeau who wooed the liberal dreamers. Well, we have a Muslim president also. How the fuck did we get a Muslim president? Now, I don't expect Kel to know this, and I used to be able to find the video. It was easy to find. And now all of a sudden it is totally gone. Prior to Obama even announcing that he was running for president, it was like a year before, myself and a couple others were at the squad on duty watching the news, and we came across this senator whose name was Barack Obama, and he was at a church, and he was being interviewed, and they asked him, why? Why are you converting to Christianity? And his response was, because this country would never elect a Muslim president. This was about a year or more before he announced that he was even running for president. Now, there's several of us that looked for it about a year ago, 2 years ago, were able to find it. Now it is removed from the internet. Well, maybe not removed totally, but now it's not as easy to find as it once was. And, I thought maybe it was a dream I had, and I started talking to some other people, and they said, yes, they remember that exact interview. It was a Saturday afternoon, to be exact. And several people remember. A couple of them were with me when it was on. So either there's a mass hallucination going on in the American public, or as I point out, this son of a bitch is a Muslim, quote-unquote, converted for the appearance. Everything about this man's life has been smoke and mirrors, sleight of hand. So I want to get to something that it's really had me all weekend. Actually, we're going to still delay that. I'm sorry. The U.S. Senate is ready to attack Bill of Rights by calling it protection. On June 9th, the Senate Judiciary Committee, featuring such constitutional luminaries as Senator Dianne Feinstein, Chuck Grassley, Richard Dick Durbin, and Patrick Lee, among others, gave a big high five to S-356, a bill that will claim for the U.S. government new sweeping powers to to rip up what's left of the Fourth Amendment faster than an expensive blender. I can't say PA. Like what you would do to a fruit to feed it to somebody through a blender or through a straw. I can't believe I can't say it now. I've said that words God knows how many times. And now today, all of a sudden, I get Porky Pig. That's all, folks. But have no fear, the sponsor of the bill blessed it with a reassuring newspeak title, so everything is fine, called the Electronic Communications Privacy Amendment Act. This bill falls within line with other goose-stepping legislation, such as the Health Insurance Portability Accountability Act of 1996, HIPAA, which claimed for the government the ability to collect your medical records without warrants. And now we have the government deciding. The government is now deciding what health care and what health procedures we are getting. And you can deny it all you want left. We are seeing it. People are getting turned down for procedures, especially our elderly are being turned down for the simple reason of their age. And the Patriot Act, which claimed the use of national security letters, secret warrants issued by secret agents, not judges, and prohibited anyone from publicly announcing those searches, and claimed for the federal government the power to engage in sundry other unconstitutional acts. As one of the slew of Orwellian bills Washington politicians created, ECPAA has absolutely nothing to do with privacy, unless one believes an invasion of privacy is a real protection of privacy. And remember, the ECPAA is the Electronic Communications Privacy Amendment Act. After Senator Grassley patted his fellow senators on the back for giving this bill such bipartisan support, bipartisan attached to any bill usually means it is going to take more of your liberty or property or both. He handed the microphone to Senator Lee, who spent a lot of time doing the same. None of the senators who discussed the bill in this lengthy meeting bothered to discuss the Constitution, let alone the Bill of Rights. So perhaps we should. First, let's explain what ECPAA does. It's simply amendment to the nearly infinite U.S. Code that grants the FBI director, deputy director, and special agents in charge of bureau offices the ability to give anyone the power to write letters addressed to wire or communication service providers demanding electronic data. And the writers of the bill clarified what kind of information may be obtained. Simply by writing a letter, they can obtain any name, physical address, email address, telephone, instrument number, and any other similar account identifying information. Account number for cable, login history, length of service, including start date, type of service and means, and source of payments for services, including any card or bank account information, local or long-distance toll billing records, internet protocol address and other network address, including temporarily assigned IP or network address, communications addressing, routing, or transmission information, session times, and durations of information. Similar to the national security letter, which are being challenged in court, these ECPAA letters stand in complete opposition to the Fourth Amendment. Something Judge Andrew Napolitano recently observed. That's right, no warrant, under the guise of supposedly offering protection from terrorism, which the federal government fails to do. And court cases have shown the government claims it legally has no responsibility to do. And Grassley wants federal agents to search your private browsing records, bank accounts, and other private information without a warrant. The statute will also make it a crime for the ISP to tell you that it has received one of these FBI letters. As Napolitano noted, this not only an attack on the Fourth Amendment, but it is also an attack on the First Amendment. And FBI Director James Comey recently said that the Constitution stands in his way, which is precisely the point. And he is not the only one who has made statements. You had Senator Joe Manchin talking how due process stands in the government's way. And again, which is precisely the point. The people who wrote the Constitution intentionally wrote the Fourth Amendment with great specificity and for an important reason. The reason was based on experience during the pre-revolution era when agents of the British government would randomly stop American colonial citizens to search them or enter their homes to search for and take property. The Fourth Amendment stipulates that no searches will be conducted by agents of any government in the U.S. without a warrant specifying the person to be searched and the item or items sought. The warrant is to be issued only by a judge upon the judge's determination of probable cause. The police on scene are not supposed to determine probable cause and just search people, yet this is what happens all the time at DUI checkpoints and at immigration stops all over the U.S. Practices that would have inflamed the founders, and the warrant process is supposed to be public, knowable, seen by all. But over and over, agents and politicians in the United States government, be it through the so-called war on drugs, a misuse of the term war, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, which established secret courts issuing secret warrants to tap phones, or the war, again, not a war under the Constitution, on terror, whatever that is, have puffed up their chest and attacked the Bill of Rights. It's done to protect us, they say. Perhaps we should reassess who the actual threats are. It seems our government has turned into the exact thing our forefathers wrote about. Now, it's no longer a question if they are turning. It is what they turned into. And we could see it as the vote goes on today. It is difficult to balance rights and security, particularly when it's difficult to measure security. That's one reason why the debate on gun control that follow mass shootings rarely lead to compromise solutions. Today at 5:30, there will be votes on gun control. And let me tell you, nothing's ever gone bad giving a government control to ban people of their rights with no proof and no conviction. No government has ever abused that before. And if no one knew, that was sarcasm and smartassery. Every time a government has been given that power, it has been abused. That is how the governments start their abuse. And it's always in the name of safety. It's always in the name of the children. I know so many don't see owning a gun as a right. But this is where it starts. Dozens of governments started with saying we need to do this so as to protect our children and protect our citizens. And this is exactly what the Democrats are doing. They want to pass a bill they would have the power to remove people's rights. Remove people's right with no proof, no judge, no jury, no conviction, No, nothing. Just typing on a keys, you lost your rights. This is not only a Second Amendment issue I'm talking about. This is not just about gun rights, but the 5th and 14th Amendment issues. They're taking away due process in the name of safety, which is nothing more than an illusion. They're taking away our 3 amendment rights today they're voting on. To take away 3 amendments in the name of safety. And how long? Because it sets a precedent. So how long before they take away the rest of our amendment rights? Our constitutional rights? How long before they do the rest of them in the name of safety? They've been trying to do it with the First Amendment. And that bill that they just passed, the ECPAA, takes away First Amendment rights. It sets a precedent. We have a government, specifically the Democrat Party, is chipping away at our constitutional rights. There are thousands upon thousands of Americans that are on the no-fly list for no simpler reason than they have a name that is a common name. And yes, my brother is on that list. And don't tell me, as the lying piece of craps in Bill Nelson's office, that never happens. It happens thousands upon thousands times a day. It takes an act of Congress to try to remove you from that list. And it's been said before by senators, by judges. It is easier to change your name than to get removed from that list. These people will be convicted and banned from not only flying, but owning a weapon for defending themselves with no court, no jury, and not even being notified. And what's even worse, by not even committing a crime, they will be convicted and removed of their rights. I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. This is something that I don't understand, that if these people are terrorists, and so dangerous that they cannot be trusted to fly or buy a gun, then why are they safe enough to be walking around billions of Americans? If they have proof that these people are so dangerous and are in fact terrorists, why are we not deporting them or arresting them? Why are they allowed to walk our streets? Planning an attack against the United States is a crime and punishable. So why are these people left to walk the streets if they are so dangerous? They are so dangerous and planning these crimes, and our government knows about it, but yet they do nothing. If our government is not removing these people, then our government is using them as a lie to disarm and ignore our constitutional rights. Any congressman or woman that supports or co-sponsors or even votes yes should be charged and removed from office immediately. I don't care whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, Independent, Whig Party, Socialist Party, your mother's party, I don't give a shit. That is a direct vote against the people's constitutional rights, something these people take an oath to uphold. And it is a crime against the Constitution. It is a crime against the Bill of Rights. It is a crime against the people they swore to protect, serve. I don't understand the thinking. I just don't understand it. These people are after the destruction of the country, and we have people standing behind them and applauding them for the illusion of safety. They've been brainwashed to think that guns in the hands of citizens is a bad thing, that removing guns in the government will protect us. Where was the government last Saturday? Where was the government last December in San Bernardino? Where was the government September 11th, 2001? Where were the police? And no, I'm not laying all these terrorist attacks at the feet of the police. My point is, you cannot have the government in everybody's pocket, a cop in everybody's pocket, ready to protect them at the moment a crime starts. And we have Republicans that are helping. This is not Democrats versus the people. It's not the Republicans versus the people. What we have is the U.S. government trying to turn into a dictatorship, control the people, rule the people. This is not some conspiracy theory. This is what's happening in front of us. And if you can't see the fact that our government is removing our constitutional rights, I don't think you understood your constitutional rights. People are being convicted. I don't want terrorists to have guns, but if we know that we have terrorists in the country, why are we allowing them to continue to stay in this country? It's confusing. And it's scary as hell. And we need the American people. The American people, not a party, not a group. The American people to wake the hell up. You're listening to the Reaver of Common Sense right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Radio and ICRN Network. We will be right back.
Listening to the SHR Media Network.
Now, Brownells, we know you may have only one shot to harvest that trophy, so we have thousands of accessories and replacement parts to improve your chances. We know how much you love to shoot, so our gunsmiths articles and videos will help you do more and get more out of your guns. And we also value your hard work and money. That's why only Brownells backs up everything we sell with a 100% unconditional lifetime guarantee. Brownells, the world's largest supplier of firearm accessories and gunsmithing tools.
Breaking news. According to the latest report coming out of SHR Media, a merchandise store to support both the Reaver of Common Sense and SHR Media has just been unleashed to the general public. Be forewarned that this site can be contagious and numerous items can be purchased to support the best news programming. Go to Reaver.one website and click on the store link to check out the merchandise.
Listening to Reaver of Common Sense, hosted by my dad, Jersey Joe. Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the Reaver of Common Sense show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com and highplains.dailynews.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
I'd also like to interrupt the commercial just for one moment and give you this new important message. Out of the ashes of liberal rises the phoenix born onto the Red Nation Rising Radio Network coming July 4th, 2016. One of the many serving this great phoenix of Red Nation Rising Network is the one, the only Jersey Joe. Jersey Joe is bringing his Reaver of Common Sense show to the birth of a new Red Nation Rising Radio Network.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean,
Dude, I'm not saying confidence, stupid pro.
Sackhead Clint,
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch the Southside Mutt Show with its hosts, the Jersey Boys, Jersey Joe and Crash, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Radio, where we will be digging up the dirt.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guide. Because truth is not always pleasant.
If you miss a show, don't worry. You can catch the replays two ways, rebootingliberty.com or the reaverofcommonsense.com. While you're there on Reaver of Common Sense, don't forget, drop in your email and keep up to date on everything going on, or click the like button on the Facebook widget. Now on to the Reaver of Common Sense.
Listening to the SHR Media Network.
This show contains language that some viewers may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised. And now on to the show.
And welcome back to the Reaver of Common Sense. I am your host, Jersey Joe. And I'm laughing because, had a little goof up with, wrong button. There we go. I was playing around with the video program, and I kind of goofied. Big goof up. Shit happens. Welcome back to the Reaver of Common Sense. I am your host, Jersey Joe, and I'm making sense out of the senseless. The Jersey Takeover is here. We have expanded to 2 hours every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. till 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Remember to join the live chat. Go to shrmedia.com. Just click on the chat room button. Join the conversation. If you want to watch the broadcast, go to Reaver.1. That is REAVER, Reaver.1. Brain fart. All right. Don't forget to go to Reaver.1 also and click on the Reaver store. Pick yourself up a t-shirt, coffee mug. And if there's something you want me to put up there, let me know. something you don't like on there, let me know. Doesn't mean I'm going to remove it, but let me know. So it's our government is scary as hell right now. Scary as hell. And how did everybody like that announcement that the Reaver of Common Sense show is expanding? I am now broadcasted on shrmedia.com, hbpundit.com, the ICRN network, which is Liberty and Stream, and they are adding... hold on one second. And we got a special guest. Sackhead Sean has called in. What's up, Sean?
Hey, buddy. How are you?
Good. And you, sir?
I'm well. Happy belated Father's Day to you, sir, and all the dads out there who are listening.
Yeah, good point. I forgot to bring that up. But, yes, happy Father's Day to you, too, and all of the fathers out there. I had some stuff on my mind, so that wasn't exactly on my mind today.
No, I know. I'm just finished reading the transcripts from the FBI.
Okay.
And apparently, the fact that they can't say certain things in the administration because the administration has banned certain words, it apparently carries over to the FBI when they're releasing evidence of an Islamic attack. It's absolutely amazing to me. This is completely ridiculous. It is beyond. It's beyond PC at this point.
It's protection.
It's under the guise of political. Right. They're talking about how they don't want to give this guy any more credit to try to, not encourage other would-be terrorists, and they're missing the point, which is completely insane to me. The point is these people don't need motivation from the news.
Nope.
They don't care. Their motivation comes from a book that was invented well before the news media ever did. These folks who are doing these monsters they already have their motivation. And it's gotten to the point now where this administration denies their motive or reasoning for this so much that they feel it's necessary to call 911 and make sure that everyone understands why they're doing this.
And now they're trying to cover that up.
Right. And it's not it's not a cover-up in the traditional sense. It's not like they came out and they were like, this guy, he never mentioned ISIS, but he did mention a whole bunch of homophobic language. Okay, that would be a cover-up. But what they're doing is they're softening the blow to reality. And they're censoring, if you will, the word ISIS, even though the president can go. But if you look at it, the administration doesn't even call it ISIS, right? They still call it ISIL.
Which, to me, is a slap in the face because that is acknowledging that they are a state, a country. That's what ISIL is. It's
right.
Acknowledging that they're a country. I don't understand why our government has acknowledged that.
And the group themselves calls themselves ISIS. They don't even call themselves ISIL. I mean, I know there's Daesh, and I know there's a whole bunch of other...
I call them assholes. Is that close enough?
Right. Right. But they won't come out and say what it is. But the funny part is in the redacted calls, they absolutely will let him talk about Muhammad. They absolutely will let him say that he's a soldier of Islam and all the other things that he said. If you were trying to quiet the motivation to try to truly keep people from doing it and gaining notoriety, which I don't believe that'll ever be the case, but let's just hold their argument for a second. Their whole plan is to not encourage others. Well, when you're saying that you're a prophet of or a soldier of Islam and you're doing this for the Prophet Muhammad, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, you're already giving credence to other people that may do it. Now,
that's the good part of being, with that group. That's the good things, and they're promoting the good parts, well, the quote-unquote good parts, and hiding the technical terms, if that makes sense, what I said.
Well, and here's the other thing, and I thought about this a lot in the last week, and obviously I've been writing like crazy. I get a couple other articles I'll probably post today. But the other issue with this is there are other groups out there besides ISIS that are Islamic-related, militant groups and terrorist groups. So when you're saying Soldier of Islam, you're actually giving credence to all the other smaller ones, your Boko Harams, if you will, and Daesh and all the other ones that follow under the ISIS umbrella, but they have their own little designation for themselves in order to make themselves feel relevant and important. So you're still giving credence to that. You're still acknowledging that. Whereas if you're telling us that the whole reason you're not saying ISIS is to not acknowledge it as a whole, then stick to your guns and at least be consistent about it. Because then, we'll still have the same argument, but at least they have consistency on their behalf. Right now, there's zero consistency on their behalf. They don't know why. It tells you that they don't know what the hell they're doing, is what it says to me. They know what the motivation is, but there's so much controversy within the administration itself over how to deal with these groups. I mean, listen, you had, 50 diplomats sign on to a letter essentially telling the administration, his own people, the people that he chose, hey, you're not doing enough in Syria. You have the CIA director essentially saying, we're no better off now. We've made some strides, in which they're touting the strides in Fallujah, but they're ignoring the reality. And as one commentator put it, and I wish I could remember who it was, but every single time they make strides in Iraq and Syria, it seems like it ramps up the potential operations home side, France.
That was
obviously our country.
Brenner did say that, and he's actually on C-SPAN.
Brenner. Okay.
He's on C-SPAN talking about it right now. He talks about every time we attack them, they don't need country. They don't need towns. They are not a country that we're normally used to fighting. These are groups. We make them give up a town. It's no issue to them.
Right.
They can go on the offensive, and that's what I've talked about. And I know you're called for a certain reason to talk about this, but it's the way I compare it. If I'm fighting you and I'm swinging all around your head and never connecting to your face, you could take some punches at me and attack me. Now, if I'm hitting you in the face, you got to go into a defensive mode, and you can't attack me at that point. And what we're doing right now by these bombings is we're taking these swings all around your head and allowing them to still go on the offensive, where we should be hitting them head on hard, that they can't plan these attacks.
Well, and what they're doing is, to coin a boxing phrase, we're discussing it in that realm, they're playing rope-a-dope right now. They're leaning against the ropes. They're protecting the important parts, and they're letting us punch ourselves out, so to speak. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, listen, we're exhausted from war in this country. We're exhausted from fighting in this country. They know that the will of the people to engage is less and less as time goes on. Then you have, the voices in this country that are just completely oblivious to reality, who just essentially don't want to deal with it. So you have that going on. They're playing rope-a-dope. They're letting us punch ourselves out. Listen, the fact that this attack took place Sunday, and I turned on the news Monday, and Raqqa, Syria was not just a fiery ball of flame. Just melting everything. That shows you that they know we don't have any teeth. And they know this guy is, for one reason or another, and we can talk about his motivations as a president, but the reality is he's kicking this down the road to the next administration. He's been
kicking it down the road for the last 4 years. Or however long they've been around.
He doesn't want this on his legacy.
Yeah, he created them. But what I find funny is France gets attacked. The country that if you walk in and say, give me your country, they're going to give it to you. France gets a terrorist attack, and they bomb the hell out of ISIS. And what do? We make votes to do away with guns.
Nothing. We do nothing. That's the problem. We do absolutely nothing. And they know this. So, in my belief, you won't see a hit in France for a while. because the overseers, and listen, the other thing that they have done, and they've made it very high profile, is France and Belgium have been constantly making these anti-terror arrests, and they've made them very high profile for a reason. Now,
they know not to mess with France.
Hey, if you you operate in our country, we're coming after you. That may push them to other countries per se, but the reality is it makes these guys start looking over their shoulder, and they're doing that in coordination with bombings and other operations. They're being proactive about it. They were caught with their pants down a little bit during the attacks. But I keep telling everybody, when you're looking at the grand scheme of terrorism, when you're looking at ISIS, when you're looking at the long-term goals, you need to realize that they will not stop until we make them stop. You can call it whatever you want to call it. I was reading one blog today that where they redacted the word ISIS, they inserted the word Hello Kitty to prove a point. You can call it whatever you want to call it. The simple fact of the matter is it's terrorism, and we need to do it, and we need to get out ahead of it, and we need to start being more aggressive. This president doesn't want to do that. He's so afraid of his legacy being the guy that's got us into war with ISIS.
Real quick, Sean, I gotta stop on that. I would agreed maybe a month ago, 2 months ago, but I'm starting it really too much is going on with this president that I gotta ask his blatant being blind to these facts. This is not legacy. This is being complicit. He's helping. And I talked about it earlier. I want to pick your brain. Do you remember, this is before he even announced that he was running for president. He was on the news, him and his wife, talking about that they had just converted to Christianity from Muslim.
Yeah, I've never seen that clip in person. I've heard about that a bunch of times.
I remember the Saturday it was broadcasted live. Or, Sunday.
And again, I'm not even saying that. I'm not even saying you're wrong. I personally have never seen it.
Okay, I wanted to pick your brain.
At the end of the day, none of that really kind of matters because we are where we are at this point. And I think for this guy, I can't help but think it. I think for this guy, he is so afraid to do two things. One, leave the White. See, at the end of the day, I don't care what religion he is. He's such a narcissist that it's all about him. This is all about him.
Yeah.
This is all about his legacy. This is all about who Barack Obama will be in 20 years. The guy is one of the only presidents who's not leaving Washington after he's done in the White House. That says a lot. That says I am so important. I am so important to this country that even after I'm out of the office, I have to stay close to the White House because they need me. That's his thought process. Most presidents go elsewhere, right? Even the Clintons, who, let's face it, Bubba had an intern on every corner in Washington. They go to New York. They got out. And I know it's for Hillary's political gain, but they still got out.
Well, they picked New York specifically for that, but yeah.
Yeah. You have this completely narcissistic guy in office who, and I think it's two different things. I think it's one, he thinks that we're not at war with ISIS, so therefore he will not be the guy who gets us into war with ISIS. And number two, I think that he is just so afraid to engage and not win because he doesn't have a winning strategy, that he doesn't want that on his record as well, being the loser who couldn't beat up this terrorist organization.
The JV team. The JV team,
Yeah, and I know there are people out there, and I mean, obviously, who are in our circles who will disagree with me wholeheartedly and say that, it's completely part of his ideological motivation, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter, actually. At the end of the day, that ship has sailed. We only have, 6 months left of this guy at
exactly.
most? So, we have to start dealing with moving forward. And the problem I also have is, we saw with, this is Benghazi all over again, right? In a way, you had Susan Rice, and they all came out, and Hillary, and they're blaming the video. this, that, and the other thing. And they're doing the same thing with this attack in Orlando. They went after guns. They love to blow up the fact that this guy may have had homosexual or gay tendencies. None of that really matters at the end of the day, because when he chose to commit this operation and this terrorist attack, he did it under the name of ISIS. So you can say, they're going after the mental health portion, which that's another slippery slope that I worry about. Because once you start saying that somebody who has strong religious tendencies, one way or the other, it is a mental health problem.
Yep.
Well, you move the goalposts, and all of a sudden, if you're a big believer in Christianity, you have a mental health problem. If you're anti-abortion because of your religion, you have a mental health problem in their eyes. So I get nervous when they start throwing out these blanket statements to try to cover up the reality. The reality is, if this guy was gay, and his father found out, which is one of the theories running around now, that, hey, you're bringing shame upon this family through your choices, you have to make this right or you'll never go to heaven, essentially. But at the end of the day, he's still doing it in the name of Islam. Yeah. It doesn't matter, because the basis of it is that he's doing it to get to heaven. He's doing it to get his virgins. I still love the post that says they mistyped in the Quran, and it's actually Virginians, and George Washington and a whole bunch of other ones are sitting there waiting with clubs. But the reality is, he still did this in the name of ISIS, and we can doctor this up however we want. We can try to make this as pretty however we want, but you can't put lipstick on the pig, so to speak. It's still going to be a pig, no matter what you do. This is still a terrorism problem. It's an ISIS problem. You have his whole administration now coming out and saying it. And I'll tell you what, I think Brennan, I think all the diplomats, they understand where history is going to be shortly. And I think they also, for the most part, are good people who want to protect this nation. I think Brennan, I may disagree with some of the things that he said in the past or whatever, but I think in his heart of hearts, he's trying to do the right thing to protect this nation. And you have an administration that won't allow that to happen for whatever reason. They're not allowing that to happen. And then, you obviously have Loretta Lynch, who's being completely complicit with the Obama administration, and rank and file. It's a scary precedence. It is an absolutely scary precedence. Even after the World Trade Center bombings, and if you look back on the clips, Clinton really wasn't afraid to say what happened and why. We could talk about some things that he missed through his presidency. We talked about the fact that he had a shot at bin Laden and didn't take it, et cetera, et cetera. But at least he acknowledged, and the administration acknowledged, what the motivation was. This guy won't do that.
No.
So if you're not going to acknowledge what a motivation is, and I know he had his rant where he said radical Islam like 4 times, so he could finally say, look, I say it and it doesn't change anything. That was his whole reason for that. His whole reason for that is just so that clip can be out there and he can go point back to it in 5 years and go, no, I called it what it was. But the reality is that they are not dealing with it. They're afraid to deal with it. You have John McCain, who's been really wishy-washy the last couple of years as far as his motivations, came out and said, in no uncertain terms, that this is a direct link to his policies that's creating this. And, he kind of retracted a little bit, and then when he got pushed, he doubled down on the comment again.
Which I was glad to see.
And I think it's aggravation. I think you're starting to see aggravation amongst lawmakers as well, who were so worried about playing ball with this guy, and nobody wanted to be the guy that would, all the re-election worries of, well, I don't want to be the guy that's not working with the president because they can use that against me. I think you're starting to see that go out the window. John McCain, for him to say that, and he's been nothing but a rhino the last 8 years.
Ever since
but
that.
For him to come out and say, no, this is a direct policy, a direct cause is from his policies. These people in ISIS are not afraid of us, Joe.
No.
They're not afraid to come over here and hurt Americans. We've seen this time and again.
What do they have to fear? A tongue lashing
There's
from
no
our...
retribution. There's no retaliation.
No. There hasn't been for a while.
You start hitting... Yeah, it's been like this for years. And, if you start hitting them where they live, you start blowing up every terrorist camp you can find, you make Raqqa a complete just leveled sandy lot, all these other things. And the ones who may not be 100% involved in, the kind of gang mentality where they're not really gang members, but they just want to be part of something cool, they're going to back away, and you start losing numbers quick. You start losing numbers, you start losing financing.
Sean, let me jump in real quick because I forget who was saying it. Made the point of that right now ISIS is winning whether anybody wants to admit it or not. They're winning. So we have people sitting there that, okay, I'm joining a winning team. Cool, this is great. I'm on a winning team.
Yeah.
But if we start kicking the shit out of ISIS and making them look like a bunch of actual JV team, people aren't going to be so quick to go shoot up a nightclub in the name of a losing team. We didn't hear people after 9/11 running around doing attacks on the United States in the name of Al-Qaeda as they were getting their ass handed to them. No, they kind of went into hiding, and now we have ISIS running around looking, the star players, and everybody wants to be part of that team. So
and you also have to start... You also have to look back to the birth of ISIS, Joe. ISIS essentially popped up out of Iraq because Obama threw up the flag and pulled us out of Iraq before it was ready, and I've said this a million times before. I don't care if you agree with the war in Iraq or disagree with the war in Iraq. You have to follow through. Once we commit to put boots on the ground, and there's a plan and a reason, you have to commit. And Obama, loves to throw out the fact that I didn't start this war. I'm finishing it.
No.
Well, you didn't finish it.
No.
All you did was remove Group A and leave that vacuum for Group B.
Well, don't forget,
and
we have more...
ended up being ISIS.
We have more ground troops in Iraq now than if we left a contingency group to keep a vacuum from being created. So where was the victory in that?
Well, and if you talk to military personnel all over the world, who are involved in it anyhow, and you talk to leaders, and most of them will acknowledge the fact that the only way you're going to make progress in Iraq now is to do another troop surge.
Yep.
Instead of to have followed through appropriately and did the plan that was in place and withdraw on the plan that was in place, which most military experts say was a good plan. Again, agree or disagree with the war, it doesn't change the fact that once we got into a war strategy, you listen to the people that know what the hell they're doing.
And we listen to politicians too much instead of the experts.
Well, exactly. And instead, they went politicians. And this has marred every war since Vietnam. Where the politicians get in, you start having bleeding hearts, you start having people worried about collateral damage, and listen, nobody wants innocent people to die.
Well, Chris Paronto,
fact of the matter is,
Chris Paronto said it best, is they know our bleeding heart liberals in this country, and they use them against us. They know our rules, and they use our rules against us. And that's been their MO for years.
Absolutely. And you don't realize, in order to extinguish certain evil, you have to have a certain level of brutality. And you don't get into a war to win hearts and minds. I don't care what anyone says. You get into a war to achieve an objective, to crush the evil who is opposing you. And then you can worry about hearts and minds. You look at World War II. The two bombs that were dropped, Nagasaki and Hiroshima, were not dropped. They didn't warn anyone they were coming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yes, women and children and non-combatants did actually die in that. But what did it do? It forced the Japanese to come to the table and surrender. That was it. Game over.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And yes, we can talk about how horrible it is, but imagine if those bombs weren't dropped and that war tore on.
We were getting ready to invade Japan.
Longer and longer.
And there would have been millions Millions on that day alone that would have died on both sides.
Yep. And we had to make a choice. And listen, you look at the Imperial Japanese and ISIS right now, other than the fact that the Imperial Japanese was a country that we could fight hands-on, there are a lot of similarities, right? It was a complete blindside attack that kicked it all off. Pearl Harbor, 9/11, not that much different. They used guerrilla tactics that we were not used to. They were completely devoted to the emperor, and that's why you had essentially suicide bombers in planes, right? You had, oh gosh, I can't remember the term for those guys that were flying the planes into the ships.
Damn, that's the second time today.
Don't come to me. Huh?
Second time today. I couldn't think of, when they asked generals a question, litmus test. That's what I was trying to think of earlier. Litmus test. Sorry about that.
Litmus test, yeah.
I couldn't think of the word when I was...
I'll remember this term an hour from now when I don't need to remember it.
Kamikazes.
You had their war. You had the way they treated prisoners was absolutely brutal. The Imperial Japanese. The same thing with ISIS.
Real quick, Sean. Kamikaze pilots.
Kamikaze. Thank you. You have all these different things. There's a lot of similarities between ISIS and Imperial Japan, tactics-wise. Yes, Imperial Japan was a country. They had a uniformed military. They had millions more, but that doesn't change the fact that the tactics were a lot the same. There's a lot of similarities. And at some point you have to start making a decision. I'm not calling for using a nuclear weapon in the Middle East, but what I'm saying is you have to be absolutely brutal with these people in order for them to either lay down their arms and go home and hide, or keep fighting and be extinguished. Those are your two options.
I've been saying for months now, we have to hit them so hard, so nasty, and stop with the rules that it puts the fear of Allah that even if someone goes, you want to hit the United States? Shh, we will get our ass kicked just for mentioning it. Shut up. That much fear.
Exactly.
9/11 happened. What did Japan say? Oh, we did that mistake once. We'll never do that again. You woke up a sleeping giant. Even all these years later, Japan's going, no attack America.
Yeah, we don't want any part of that. And the other thing, too, and this shows you that this guy is just so feckless and he's such a horrible leader that, you get on a plane, you go over to Europe, and you start meeting with all these other countries. You go to every country in the world and say, hey, we need to rebuild a coalition to go into Syria and Iraq again. And this time, we want numbers to the point that they can't even look down the street without seeing a uniformed body. They are going to know. And you make it, and now that you have France getting attacked, Belgium getting attacked, they will jump on board. All the other countries that are afraid of ISIS showing up on their borders will start jumping on board. You can start throwing out numbers of military personnel so overwhelming that it doesn't have to be just America. And that's the thing is, we are so afraid of being the only person to lose lives. And obviously, listen, when it comes to our military personnel, I don't want to put them in harm's way. But there's a reason our military personnel are there. There's a reason we have a standing army. There's a reason that we have a standing military.
They know the dangers.
Threats like this. Well, but it's to deal with these threats before they make it to this country.
That's what my father has always told me. The reason why we get involved in some of these wars is so that we do not have to fight them on our soil, because one day when we don't step up, the attacks are going to come on our soil. The liberals have been crying about all these wars, so we stop getting involved, and what do we have? We have the fighting on our soil, and our citizens are getting killed.
Absolutely. And you go back, again, I'll go back to World War II, and I don't even want to talk about the Russians and the Cold War, because that's a different animal. You go back to World War II, you had the Japanese trying to make landfall here. You had the Japanese who did make landfall. You had the Nazis who made landfall. And they were put down with extreme prejudice quickly and instantly, because we can't have that here.
Yeah.
And I understand, and these globalists who think that we're all, we're all one country, blah, blah, blah. That's all well and good until it shows up into your front yard. Yep. When it shows up into your front yard, all of a sudden, your thought process changes a little bit. And these people, if they're allowed to fester, they're a virus. And when you allow them to fester and grow and you don't treat it, it gets worse and worse. And then all of a sudden it becomes a bacteria, or it morphs into a bacteria. And now you have to take strong medication in order to get rid of it. Well, it's to the point that I think we need strong medication, because right now just, drinking our orange juice isn't going to be enough to fight this one off. And I'll tell you, I've said this before and I'll say it again, you're going to see these attacks increase more and more.
Yep.
It's until...
Especially if we get a Republican president, and not because it's Trump, just a Republican president, they know they're not going to be able to walk over us. They're going to hit us hard, and they're going to hit nasty. Even if Hillary gets in, I think we're still going to have the small attacks happen at a higher frequency. But a Republican president, I think we're going to get hit hard because they know their time's going to be limited.
Yeah, I agree. I think that between now and January, you're going to see a lot more activity, sadly. And, one of the things that we need to do in this country, it's absolutely amazing what makes the news and what doesn't. You look overseas when they make a whole ring of terror attacks, you see it all over the news, right? They not terror attacks, terror arrests, pardon. They put this everywhere. You can't help but see it all over the place. And they do that for a reason. And over here, it's a blip on the radar. We're so worried about who won Dancing with the Stars and all this other ridiculousness that you're not seeing it on the news because it's not selling advertisement, because people in this country are not
We're going to be
the
offending the Muslims. We'll offend them by showing it. We're picking them out. We're, all this other liberal bullshit. And I'm so sick of it.
Yeah. And that's exactly what's going on. And you have, and I hate to say, in this country, they're very, very wise. ISIS is very wise about their choice of attack so far. You look at San Bernardino, and I'm not talking tactically the gun-free zone thing, but a whole bunch of state workers were the victims. And, while people were like, hey, this is extremely sad, it didn't shock the conscience on the same level. You look at the club in Florida, same thing. A whole bunch of adults are in the right place.
See, I thought that would have woken up the left. I thought that would have woken up the left because they hit on the gay community.
It woke up a portion of the left. It woke up a portion of the left. But I think that you will see them be very choosy about where they pick and choose, because if they hit the wrong target, and I won't even say what that is, but if they hit the wrong one and they wake up this country, they don't want to do that. I've said this for years. Mm-hmm. They don't want to poke the bear in this country and wake up everybody, because then they will have the absolute full hell raining down upon them. So they know they have to keep this country divided. They can be specific about what they choose. I mean, you look at Chattanooga, they attacked a military base. Most people said, oh, it's really sad, but it's military personnel, and that's part of it. Fort Hood, same thing, right? It didn't shock the conscience. And they will be choosy about this because they know that if they hit the wrong target and it wakes everybody up in this country, they'll be in so much trouble. So they won't choose to do that. They will keep choosing to hit high-profile places, but places where people are like, this is really, really sad. I'm going to turn off the news and turn on a game show network, or I'm still going to go to the store and buy my GoPro, or whatever. Just
I noticed they never hit any politicians. No government officials ever get hit. Because
they won't. Because that will do it as well.
Yeah. Because then they feel threatened. They're definitely going to want to go to war when the politicians feel threatened.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And look, do I pray in my heart of hearts that this is the last attack that will ever happen on American soil? Yes. Do I hope that ISIS just goes away and stops this? Absolutely. Yeah. But hope is not a battle strategy. You need to actually realize that we're engaging these people in battle. They are engaging us. They are attempting to kill us for everything that we stand for.
Try hoping that
Everything
cancer
that we
goes
stand
away.
for. Yeah, exactly.
It's not going to go away.
It's like
going
trying
to kill
put
you.
a Band-Aid on cancer.
Yep.
Yep.
And it also
we're not
goes
being
to
aggressive.
our president sitting there. Well, what difference does it make what I call? Well, if I go into a doctor and he says, "Hey, you got a small swelling in your chest, and I'm going to give you aspirin for it," you'd be pretty pissed off when you finally found out you had cancer and you needed radiation. Words do matter,
Right.
and Obama even said that when he first got in, because he talked about "I have a dream" and how simple words mean so much and can be lasting to a person. But now it's, oh, I got to say those words about the Muslims. Oh, no, words don't matter.
Well, words matter when they're the right words.
Yeah.
And when he chooses which words are the right words. And like I said, all he's doing is moving the goalposts. It's not a touchdown. Yeah, you can move the goalpost to the 50-yard line, but it still isn't a 100-yard touchdown. You're still not running the goal the entire length of the field. You're shortening the field, and you're moving it to what manipulates and what is convenient for you. And that's the sad and scary part right now. Is, again, we're so locked into political correctness, and I know a couple of our listeners who listen to both our shows are going to yell at me, but we're so locked into this political correctness BS. This guy's a narcissist. He doesn't want to lose this war, so he doesn't want to even engage in it. Look at it like a Major League Baseball team showing up and, they're like, hey, all of our starters are injured and we're all on AAA guys and it's our worst pitcher starting. So we're not even going to play, and that way it's not a loss. That's what this is he doesn't want to play so he doesn't take the loss. And he's just kicking the can down the road. And I'll tell you right now, if I was, obviously Trump is Trump on this, but if I was Hillary, knowing I'm going to get the nomination, I would be so angry right now because you're going to have to deal with this no matter what. He's going to walk out the door in January and wipe his hands and go back to manipulating people privately. Hillary, if she wins by chance, is going to have to deal with this because it will come to a head. At some point, mark my words, it will come to a head in this country. People will eventually wake up. And it's going to change our entire fabric of our nation to realize that, once again, our pillar of freedom is the very reason why people want us to die.
Yep.
And because we're not, in this country, if you're ISIS, look at it, we have freedom of religion, right? You could be whatever religion or none that you want to be in this country. Well, ISIS says no. In their book, it's one religion or none. You die. So the fact that we have that religion alone is one of the biggest affronts to true believers in this country. And it will not stop until we make them stop. I equate it to like having a 3-year-old. You can tell them to sit down 1,000,000 times, but at some point you're going to have to walk up, pick them up under the arms, move their legs a little bit, and put them in the chair and say, now you need to sit. And then usually they go, oh, okay. Now it's time to sit. ISIS is the same way. You can tell them to stop 1,000,000 times. You can tell them we're not going to tolerate it, but until they see action, until they see something being done, we're squabbling with the Russians over who they're bombing. Oh, they bombed our supporters, this, that, and the other thing. Well, who cares at the end of the day? They're in a land where it's ISIS and this, that, the other thing. The president's already crossed his red line with Syria and did nothing about it. So you think the Russians and the Syrians care what the president's yelling about?
Oh, that reminds me of an old Bugs Bunny.
Attacking?
Bugs Bunny and Yosemite Sam. You cross this line, you die. You cross this line, you die.
Yeah.
And, it kept moving till we fell off the cliff.
Yep, absolutely. And that's where I feel like we're going right now, is off the cliff. And the Russians, they don't care. Unless we turn around and start, which is why you will never see, even though you had 50 diplomats sign off and say we need to change our strategy in Syria and start manning up a little bit, you're not going to see it happen because now this president would have to face Putin. Maybe not militarily, but in a game of words, right? And Putin's already put this guy down a few times verbally. So, I really think that on top of his feckless, narcissistic ways, he's also a little bit of a coward. He doesn't know how to have a winning strategy, so he's not going to have any strategy.
What's the joke with that meme? You know, you got Putin over there, bear-shirted, wrestling bears, and what do we have? We got some little...
Mom jeans on a bike.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Mom jeans on a bike.
Oh,
it's crazy to me. You had all these... Even, and it's so funny because even Bill Clinton would go out and jog, right? He'd jog 4, 5, 6 miles every single day and work out and blah, blah. He had that image of a guy who's trying to be in charge. You have this guy who's mom jeans and a bike. So even his image, and everyone could say, well, it's just an image. But to these terrorists, who their information is controlled that they get through ISIS and the fact that they just aren't in the modern world.
What about the picture of I'm sorry for cutting you off again. The Obama guy in his onesie for Obamacare. How much of an image did that get plastered all over the world that this is what the United States has turned into? Grown men in onesies, sipping on their hot cocoa.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, and that's part of it. So when I tell you, listen. He said he was going to fundamentally change. I only have a minute or two left here. He said he was going to fundamentally change our nation.
What I do want to touch on something else.
The left. Yay, hope and change. And nobody asked what he was going to change it to, and here we are.
Yep.
And it's very, very scary. And I'll tell you right now, as the average American citizen walking around right now, you better believe that I am once again looking over my shoulder in every single situation I'm in.
Yep. Quick, I do want to talk to you about one thing because we have a vote going on today at 5:30. They're going over those gun control votes and this no-fly list. I talked about it earlier. This is nothing more than an attack on the Constitution. It is doing away with the 5th and the 14th Amendment. It's doing away with free speech. It's doing away with gun rights.
Mm-hmm.
This is, people are going to be convicted of a crime that they didn't commit without a judge, without anything. This is, and I think all those politicians should be removed immediately.
Joe, but here's the thing, and you're saying convicted of a crime. If you say convicted, you're assuming that there was some sort of judicial process. And that's not the case here. To use conviction is to assume that you were tried by a jury of your peers, found guilty, and sent to jail. This is not a conviction. This is a downright just power grab. It's very totalitarian, and it scares me. And, I think it's Ben Franklin has said, and it could have been Jefferson, and it's early in the morning, I haven't had a lot of coffee, but those who will sacrifice liberty for security deserve neither. And it's very true in this situation. Yes. Do we need to do more to stop these idiots? Absolutely. But when it comes down to finding bad guys, you can't just start throwing out the dragnet. Yeah. You can't fish behind the boat and, kill all these other things that were in the net to get the 4 or 5 tuna you were going for. You go tuna fishing. You go after these guys. But here's the problem, Joe, and I've said this before. I had so many people on the left tell me I was insane. Part of the plan with ISIS, in my humble opinion, is to overwhelm our criminal justice system and our intelligence people so much that they aren't able to keep up with it. And then what happens? You have them start encouraging laws like this because I think even the most noble intelligence person, agent, whatever you want to call them, I think in their heart of hearts, when they start getting nervous that lives are going to be lost and they have no way to keep up with it, you start having that emotional response of, well, maybe we need a flash and just start, everyone can go on this list, and then we'll deal with the fallout afterwards, but as long as lives are being saved. It's penny wise and pound foolish. You're looking at a short-term goal, not the long-term implications. Maybe if we started hiring more intelligence people, maybe if all this money that gets put into all these ridiculous bills and Obamacare and all this other crap went to law enforcement, local and federally, and start our intelligence community. If you let good agents and good investigators do their job, You don't need things like listening to phone calls without a warrant. You don't need things like the terror watch list, because if you have the amount of people necessary and you give them the actual tools that they need, they will be able to do this job. And I fully have my full faith and confidence in our intelligence and law enforcement community in this country when they are allowed to work. You know, one of the things that you don't get right now is they're trying to go through the process to bug a mosque. You know, hey, we're going to put this wiretap in there. Oh, we don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. Well, and I hate to bring this up because it was a huge miscue, but same thing happened with so many other places that we've been caught with our pants down.
Yeah.
And when it comes to wiretapping, as long as they meet the criteria, as long as they meet the legal precedents, the legal criteria to legally obtain a wiretap warrant, then do it and figure it out. Well, you can't just focus on mosques. Well, that's where these folks are worshiping and meeting because they know.
This mosque in particular.
As soon as you say we're listening to mosques, the left is going to go insane in this country. And listen, I've said this time and again as a Catholic, if I found out the Catholic Church was launching attacks against our people on a regular basis in this country, I would say wiretap and surveil them as well.
Well, take a look
I don't
at
care what religion it is.
The IRA. Where did you go to listen to them at? In Catholic churches.
Right.
And bars.
But you do it legally. You do it legally. The judicial system that we have in place.
But it's not just because
turn around and start.
They're Muslims. Do we want to list at mosque? It's these people. That's their religion. That is the reason they say they're doing these attacks. So to say, well, we can't look at the mosque because we might upset. We're not supposed to look at the bars to listen to the mafia because we might upset the alcoholics.
The Italians?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I do with the RICO laws, if everyone just came out and said, oh, you're just attacking Italians right now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but the Italians were the ones who were in charge of the mob.
Yeah,
but you're going after the Italians and Gentlemen's Club, and those are private clubs to blow. But we have to do something.
Yes.
And we have to do it legally. We have a legal system in place. And we have to utilize that legal system.
But it's...
And here's the other thing, too. You know, I thought about this last night. We talk about these no guns, no terror, no fly list. Listen, everyone's seen the video at this point of Trey Gowdy lighting up the Homeland Security person about, hey, where's the due process afforded to American citizens who end up on that no-fly list?
Oh, that doesn't happen.
Same thing is going to happen with the Second Amendment. Can you imagine, say you're a Christian-born Arabic person. You're Yazidi, you're Kurdistan maybe. You have the name from the Middle East. That sounds scary. But you want to go and you were born and raised here, you're an American citizen, say you're not Muslim, say you are Muslim, and you're not an extremist. And your family gets threatened. Maybe you're a lawyer. And you go to a gun store to say, hey, you know what, I have to protect my house, I want to get a shotgun. But because your last name matches a potential other last name, you can't get a weapon to defend yourself.
Sean, my brother is on the no-fly list because his last name is John Anderson, and it's a very common name used on passports when they're forged. So he's on the no-fly list.
Senator Ted Kennedy was on the no-fly list. Senator Ted Kennedy.
There was another senator that was on the no-fly list also. To get removed, even though Bill Nelson's office told me, oh, no, we'll help get people removed. They're not supposed to be on it. It doesn't happen. Bullshit. It happens. And it takes, as one congressman said, it would be easier for you to change your name than get off of the no-fly list.
Right, but then you'll end up on the terror watch list because why are you changing the name?
Yeah.
And that's the problem. We're sidestepping due process.
Yep.
For a knee-jerk reaction. And you know what? The only two laws that should be passed this week or even considered is the declaration of war against ISIS.
Yep.
Not a law, but what Congress should be doing. Declaration of war against ISIS is the first one. And the second one, I would put in the law that an event like this, that Congress can't act on any changes in our liberty for a period of 1 month as a cool-down period. Same reason why we have to wait 10 days to buy a gun in some states.
Yeah.
Cool-down period. They're afraid of the crime of passion. Okay, let's hold
Same for
Congress
these
to that same
politicians.
standard. Because you absolutely can kill through bad policies and laws. Sorry, through bad policies and laws. In effect, people can die as a result. So why don't we hold them to that same standard? You know what? 1 month from an incident like this, once somebody screams gun control on the House floor, we wait 1 month to vote.
Yep, exactly.
We don't want to do that, right? Because you have the emotional response right now.
How would Democrats get things done?
Saying, oh, you have to change this.
How would Democrats get things done? Between lies and just using emotional knee-jerk reactions, that's how they get stuff done anymore.
Rahm Emanuel.
Yeah.
Never let a good tragedy go to waste. Never let a good crisis go to waste. And that's exactly what they do to push their agenda. And for all those people that think that these people are just heroes of the cause, all they're doing is trying to get themselves voted back into office.
Yep.
Because you know what? I said this the other night on the radio, and I'll say it again. These people live in a protected bubble. They don't need gun control because it doesn't apply to them.
They got people surrounding
them. And they will always, on some level, have right. They will always, on some level, have some level of protection that you and I don't.
Yeah,
look at what's her name, the screwball from House of Representatives. She used to be the House, Nancy Pelosi. One of the only people in the county she lives in who's allowed to have a concealed weapons permit. Think about that for a second. The anti-gun lunatic Nancy Pelosi is one of the few people in her area who is allowed to have a concealed weapons permit. Why? Because she thinks she's more important than other people.
Dianne Feinstein
and
does,
people
too.
acknowledge that she is.
Dianne Feinstein has a concealed carry permit.
Of course she does. But I tell people when they have this argument, these liberals who are passing these bills, they think they're better than you. Exactly. They don't think that they're not championing your cause. They're championing re-election because they're already taken care of. These laws don't apply to them. These rules don't apply to them.
They're an
because they're elected
class.
officials. Right. They live in a protected bubble. And that's what it comes down to when you start going after these laws.
I hate to cut you off, Sean.
Passing these laws and approving these laws, they're not worried about the common person.
Hey, Sean, I hate to cut you off, bud.
Pelosi's been in the House of Representatives for how long now? 20-something years, I think.
Way too long.
Maybe less, maybe a little bit less.
Hey, I got to cut you off, Sean.
All he cares about is re-election.
Sean, I got to cut you off, bud. It's getting that time.
Okay, bud.
Sorry about that.
Sorry about that.
No, I appreciate you calling in, and I enjoy having someone else's opinion on it because sometimes I wonder if it's just my, I'm looking too much into something. So I appreciate you calling in.
Yeah, well, and hey, Joe, I've said it more and more on the show is I'm starting to feel like the paranoid person, but I also feel like we're the only groups of people who are talking about this, and everyone else keeps trying to make us into these paranoid people. Yeah. The reality is
even Fox is not talking about it. Fox isn't doing it anymore.
Our country's changing, and the fact of our country is changing, and it is not in a positive way.
Nope. It's in a bad way.
So, hey, Joe, thanks for having me, bud.
Anytime. And
I'll talk to you soon.
All right, see ya. That was Sackhead Sean. It was a joy. I love having him on. Listen, people, we're at a turning point, a very, very bad turning point in this country, and we need to figure out what's going on. I was going to make the announcement. I did it during a commercial a little bit. I got notified, I think it was Friday or Saturday, that I will be debuting on July 4th when the network starts. Red Nation Rising, it has its own radio station that will be debuting on July 4th. And I'll talk more about it tomorrow. And make sure you tune in from at 11 o'clock right here on SHR Media, High Plains Pundit Radio, ICRN Network. I'll see everybody tomorrow. Stay safe. You've been listening to the Reaver of Common Sense with its host, Jersey Joe. You can tune in every day, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on hppundit.com and shrmedia.com.